have two boys, Gabriel and Zachary. They're teenagers now, and they do know about Bradford. I think they think of him as like a distant relative. It's so funny with kids. Whatever you present to them and however you present it, it's just part of their lives. It's not weird. They've never really had many questions about him. I mean, I talk about him like he's a dead brother.
My mom talked about him a lot. He still does. So he's just always been there. He was her best friend for a long time.
It's his photo on Danielle's dresser, not mine.
Bradford York was one of my best friends and my ex-husband. We worked at a bank together, and suffering through a painful supervisor got us very close to each other. I left the bank and was doing a lot of little contracting jobs, and I didn't have any health insurance. And he was still working for the bank, and he had good health insurance. We got married in 1987 to help me with, at that time, with health insurance. His family, they're from New England, and he had come out to them as being gay with his prior lover a couple years before, and his prior lover died of AIDS. For whatever reason, they just thought his gayness was a phase, so that when I showed up, despite the fact that I was a colored woman, they were relieved that at least it was a woman, and we were doing the whole married thing, pretending that we were married. It was actually quite a lot of fun. People were like, oh, they're such a cute couple. You know, we had our separate things, but we were roommates. So probably like we were more like brother and sister. He did finally test positive. It didn't take him long for the HIV to progress into AIDS. We didn't know a lot then. We only knew a lot of people were dying. So we were really scared. I ended up getting a temporary job in a law firm, and they hired me, and one of my conditions, of course, was that I get benefits and my husband be covered. The reason we got married was because of my health, and the reason we stayed married was because of his. We both kind of knew we didn't have a lot of time with each other, and he was going into debt. All of the health care he needed and not working and stuff, and he didn't want me to inherit it. So we decided to get divorced, and I moved out, and he had this great miracle of falling in love again with someone else who moved in and took care of him for the last year of his life. But I loved him, and he loved me, and then we just still had a lot we shared. I mean, just like the beginning of our relationship. Before I moved out of the house, I met James. So he met Brad, really liked him.
When we were dating, he was obviously still a major part of her life, because we used to go together over at his house just to hang out and have dinner.
I said, I want kids, and I don't care if I get married, but I definitely want kids. So we actually started working on the babies before we started getting married. And it was about a week before Bradford died, and I brought the sonogram picture over to show him. His mother had moved in with them about 6 months prior to his dying. I got a call from her saying, if you want to see him, I think you need to come now because I think he's leaving.
Danielle called me and she said, it's time.
His mother was in bed with him, holding him like her baby. She was holding him in her arms. I just remember that he was struggling to breathe, and then he took one last deep breath and he was gone. I wanted to honor his life every day of mine by having part of him.
It was absolutely a must. I mean, it never came up. I think it was, the honorable thing to do.
I think it's pretty respectful, and it's kind of it's pretty. It's nice to have this great friend. It's nice that she can keep his name.
I kept Bradford York's name to be able to talk about him too, mostly to make his life the life that I shared with him, or just his life period, because I just thought he was such a fabulous human being. I wanted it to have meaning.